everybody. We are back today with Brandy of Brandy Astrology. And we have a request. We had a request to look at the plane crash that killed John F. Kennedy Jr., his wife, Carolyn Bessette, and her sister, Lauren Bessette. In the comment, it was mentioned, the person was curious if they actually like escaped or the plane didn't actually crash. I didn't know this was even questioned. So this got my attention. This got my attention. I'm like, well, let's fucking take a look at it then and, you know, see what's up. Yeah, I guess we can just.
Yeah, we thought he was dead.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know this was something that was questioned. So it got my attention because I'm like, well, if this is something that is questioned, let's take a look at it. Let's check it out, you know? This happened, this happened July 16th of 1999. Supposedly JFK Jr. was the pilot. Supposedly he fell victim to spatial disorientation. That's what they have said anyway, or that's what they came back with.
Is that where when you think you're inclining and you're actually declining, or is that
honestly I don't know what the fuck it is. I'll be honest, I'm not a pilot, I don't fucking know, but that's what they came back with. It could be I mean, I don't know, that probably sounds stupid. I don't know, maybe I should know that, but I don't. I'm
gonna look it up while you're I'm just curious for my own curiosity.
Okay,
what was it called? Spatial
disorientation while flying a Piper Saratoga. That was the kind of plane. When the flight, I have some notes I'm looking at. When the crash happened, the flight conditions, weather caused basic landmarks to be obscured. So he wasn't flying in the world's greatest conditions, but you could fly. Like, it wasn't like they said you couldn't, you could. They crashed into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Martha's Vineyard. They were on their way to a wedding. They weren't in the air very long. Plane took off at 8:38. And then later on, it wasn't until after they found everything and I guess did the forensic stuff with it or whatever, that they found that the plane would have gone down around 9:41 p.m. So they were only in the air like an hour. Or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this says spatial disorientation results in a person being unable to determine their position or motion, and commonly occurs during challenging visibility. So yeah, I didn't really know. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have just made seeing shit hard to, yeah.
Interestingly, what happened to the pilot in the Buddy Holly crash? Which we're going to record soon. That one.
Oh, that happened to him too?
Yes.
Okay.
It's speculated that's what happened. Yeah.
Okay. That is interesting. Yeah, we're going to be doing that one soon.
As soon as Brandy gets her shit together.
Okay, should we go ahead and take a look at the one when the plane takes off?
I would love to. Yes.
Okay. Let me make sure I share the right fucking chart. Hold on. They've got some problems with that. Okay, I think it's this one. Okay, yes. This is when the plane takes off at 8:38 p.m. on July 16th, 1999.
I can't quite see it yet.
Oh, really?
It does say you started screen sharing. There we go. Here we are. We're good.
Okay.
Might just be a smidge of lag. Okay.
Okay. So what stands out to you?
The moon in the 8th house. Bam. Yeah, it's common on last seen charts, or you know, when a death is going to occur and someone's last seen or a takeoff. The moon, which is, interestingly though, this rules a 7th house and not necessarily the victims, you know, so, but still that moon being in the 8th house does represent some death going on. The victims, you know, being ruled by Saturn because it's a Capricorn ascendant, there's Saturn in the 3rd house, which we see with travel they're not going crazy far away. So I think it would be a very third house.
Yeah. And I also noticed that, when I think of like planes, right? Technically aviation, Neptune, Uranus thing, but I also would include Jupiter in that. So seeing Jupiter in the third as well kind of does, because they weren't going very far at all, Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, it shows them taking off to travel. Yet that moon in the 8th house shows something's wrong. Looking back. Now, there's been plenty of times where I've gone on plane trips and the plane takes off, like when Pluto's in the 8th house, and I've arrived just fine. So I want to just event charts looking back kind of play out a little differently. So I just kind of want to put that disclaimer out there, but
Yeah, absolutely.
scare anybody unnecessarily.
That makes me want to look at the takeoff for the plane ride I'll be on a week from now.
I said that because one time I did look at takeoff time and I was so scared because it was like some planetary positions that just didn't look great, but I arrived just fine.
Maybe I shouldn't even bother with it and just go to New Orleans and not even.
You know what it is? It's if you look up something maybe out of fear or concern and you see like 8th house or 12th house place, it's representing your fear or the mortality that you're thinking about. So when an event actually occurs and you go back and look, it will stamp events, but looking ahead of time, sometimes it just represents where you're coming from.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What stands out to me a lot?
What's that?
Those clusters of threes.
Yeah, you got 3 of them.
Yeah, 3 clusters of threes.
Yeah.
I don't know that necessarily any of them specifically are the 3 of them, but I do think that it is interesting that there were 3 on board. And then we've got these 3 clusters of threes, the first house with Neptune, the south node, and Uranus, 7th house with Mercury, north node, and Venus, and that bullshit in the 10th.
The bullshit in the 10th. Yeah. It is interesting. You get 3 victims and you got clusters of 3. There's something about 3s here. Yeah, I could see how that would stand out.
Yeah.
I do find it interesting because we're not looking at, this is a forensic chart. We're not looking at it quite like it, like a murder or something like that. But when you look at the 7th house, it's not necessarily a person, but it's interesting how it's in Cancer, the water sign, and they crash into water.
Yes, it is. I noticed that too. Like, yeah, because in this case, it'd be more like the 7th house would be like the catalyst or the cause, or you know what I mean. Something more like that than a perpetrator.
Right.
Also, that Neptune rising.
Mm-hmm.
The water thing, also the aviation thing. I feel like it kind of ties into both of those.
Yeah, this is a moment of takeoff, and yeah, there's definitely indications. We got death, we got water, aviation, we got travel popping up, we got stelliums of 3s. Man, it's really a picture of what happened.
Yeah.
I don't know why that sun in the 6th house stands out to me too. I don't know why though. I'm trying to like kind of, that is usually, and maybe that's the world watching, because but you get 6th house when you get kind of a luminary there, it kind of indicates something watching, or in other cases, it could be like stalking. Of course, we don't have that here, but that sun is interesting. In the water sign as well. Maybe because they're high profile people. I don't know. Okay, here's what it is. You have the 6th house, you have the moon in Virgo, which is traditionally rules the 6th house. So we got some 6th house elements here. I do wonder if this felt like they had to go, like a responsibility to go, and maybe, I don't know. I mean, is there any indication they were excited to go, or like they're obligated?
Well, I don't know, but I was going to bring up the 6th house thing with health. He had just broken his leg, I think, or something. And he had just gotten the cast off, or maybe it was an ankle. I don't know. He'd broken some part of his of his leg or something. And he had just gotten the cast off like the day before.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Now the doctor, I guess the orthopedic doctor, whatever, said that he could drive like a car. He could, he could do that. I don't know if flying a plane, if you need to apply more pressure than say on the pedal of a car, but I don't know, bringing the health kind of element with the sixth house and the Virgo shit, it makes me want, I don't know.
There's definitely something up with that. Like maybe, like you said, maybe it's a health issue. There's a sense of responsibility with sixth house. That's why I was like, maybe they felt like they had to go, and I don't know. I think I'm sorry, did you already say, they were going to a wedding, right?
Yes, it was a wedding. So there very well could have been a sense of obligation.
Yeah. And of course, I don't know. I don't want to put that out there about these people, but it just makes me wonder, what sixth house elements are trying to be portrayed here, but there's something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the Mars in the ninth is interesting too. A lot of times in the ninth house is where you find large bodies of water. And we have Mars there in the sign of death. There are a lot of indications about water and the outcome being water-based.
Yeah. Yeah, there are. Should we look at the one for when the plane supposedly crashed?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me stop that one. Share a different one, hopefully the right one. Okay. All right. Can you see it?
Yes. 9:41 p.m. chart. Yes.
Yes.
Now we have the ruler of the victims in the second house. And it kind of, this is forensic astrology is basically following horary astrology. And it just interests me because the second house in horary is where we look when we're trying to find things. Like if something's missing, we look at second house to represent a missing thing. And at this point, this is when, this is when they're found, right?
No, this is when the plane, yes, this is when the plane.
Sorry. So they're now missing.
Yes.
It's not long after this that I think family was questioning that they were supposed to show up at certain times or whatever. But it's just interesting that second house element starts coming up, like something's missing.
Yeah, it is. And that Pluto right on like the midheaven. I don't know. It just kind of glares at me there.
That's tough. At Pluto's intensity, it's also death. It's all these things. I mean, if we're looking at this like they're killed, I know there's some questions out there if they really died or if this happened, but this would make me think of an instant death.
Yes, that's how there's also something, like the Kennedy curse.
Yeah,
there's something, Pluto can deal with generational inheritance, genetic inheritance. There's something about that being right on that midheaven that makes me think, okay, this, if that exists, if that quote curse exists, this is, I don't know. It feels kind of like, this is part of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a question because that family is filled with trauma. I mean, we have assassinations. I mean, even like stories of what happened with, I guess it'd be JFK Jr.'s aunt with the,
that awful shit.
Yes. So, I mean, I think that's a valid thing to see here.
Yeah.
And of course, we got Mars now in the 8th house of death.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. But yeah, it just shows to me, this chart just screams missing. Something's wrong here.
Yeah. And even even the interceptions, like having that moon in this one.
Yeah,
Intercepted.
the moon now intercepted, which was ruling the 7th house in the prior chart. Now it's in the chart intercepted, in a way hiding.
Yes.
Not visible as well.
There was also, oh, fuck, there was a fixed star on that too, I think. On that moon. Let me see. God, that fucking plane is loud as shit.
Interesting, because we're talking about plane crashes and there's a loud plane.
It's making itself known.
It's so appropriate.
Yeah, there's one at 1542 Virgo. It's connected with fires of a catastrophic extent and mass calamities.
Oh, I see that. That's intense.
Yeah. The calamities.
You know, Saturn is on a fixed star too. It's about 1 degree and 20 minutes apart, but it does show unfortunate for Saturn. Disease, throat trouble, disgrace, ruin, injury from beasts.
Ah, okay.
That's interesting. Unjustified enmities, sudden emergence of deep unconscious issues.
That's interesting. It's also at an avatar gate.
Really?
Yeah. Now I just noticed that. I gotta be honest, I'd have to sit with that more to figure out how the fuck to even tie that in. But
Oh, did you see me pause for a minute? I was trying to think of that. Like
like that. No, but we got Saturn at 1.
Yeah.
We have the North Node at 1. We've got the South Node and Uranus at 1. That's, I don't know. I'm not even gonna try to attempt to do that right now. I'd be staring for too long, but that does.
Yeah, it's forming a T-square there.
Mhm.
Saturn is squaring those nodes, and
Yes, it is. Lots of energy. Lots of energy activated. Lots of fucking, I'll leave it at that. Lots of fucking energy.
and I think it could go back to what you're saying, kind of the karmic shit within the family. You know, I'm not saying, oh, this deserves to happen to them, but I'm just saying there's something weird with the family and all the tragedy, and there's got to be some karmic elements there, right?
Yeah, because that family just has been like riddled with a lot of very unfortunate things.
Yeah. Interesting. Their family has come up a few times when doing other forensic charts, like Marilyn Monroe and
yeah, and that's another reason why I entertained this, because I was like, okay, so we've done some of this, so this makes sense. Let's do this too.
Let's do it.
Is there anything else that you?
Yeah, the 12th house is interesting. We now got like Neptune in the 12th, which and Uranus. You know, we could look at this 12th house as another indication of some death or something like that happening, but we could see accident or again water type death with Neptune. Yeah, I just kind of some literal markings going on here.
Yeah, and those and that's one of the clusters of the 3s. So
yeah. I don't know why I'm thinking this, but I do wonder if Uranus with the South Node. I just have so much speculation. I wonder, like, again, is there an element of not wanting to go, or was there an element of last minute plans to go, or was there an element of someone being hesitant? You know, I wonder if there's some premonition going. I don't know why that South Node in Uranus makes me think there was some tugging on decisions here.
there could have been, yeah. I mean, totally. I mean, I know I'm not them, but I think to myself, I don't know. I mean, I fucking don't like going to weddings. So
You have to buy a present. I know. It's like,
yeah, I'm happy to buy you a gift, but I'm sorry. I don't really want to do the dog and pony show.
yeah, I get it.
So you know, this is possible. Maybe somebody didn't want to go, or
Yeah, it makes me wonder, was there some hesitant or was there last minute plans to go, or was there someone like, ooh, I don't have a good feeling about, you get that sometimes, people who right before these things happen, they didn't have a good feeling about it, or yeah, I don't know. This is interesting.
Well, and that Uranus is also at one of those avatar dates. So that seems, I don't know. That totally seems possible to me.
Yeah.
Somebody may have gotten some sort of flash of something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And not done anything about it. Seems possible. Should we look at his, I do have his birth chart with the transits.
Yeah.
And I also have solar arcs too. There's something kind of interesting about it. Let me see. Okay. Okay. So his chart is on the inside for November 25th.
Birth time for him. Great.
Yes. Yeah. And it was A-rated. So it's, yeah. So yeah. November 25th, 1960 at 12:22 a.m. in a Georgetown Hospital in Washington, D.C. There was something, and I looked at this late last night. Now I'm trying to figure out what the fuck it was I was looking at.
I know, and our best stuff comes at night when like.
Yeah, but then I don't have my notebook out. I can't write it down.
That's all right. You know, part of the fun sometimes is just getting a glimpse of this and going with it, seeing what stands out. I think it's interesting that the Jupiter over the 8th house transit. Now, Jupiter transits the 8th house every 12-ish years, you know, so if Jupiter's over your 12th house, you're not going to die. But it is interesting here that is being over the 8th house of death.
And it's also the ruler of his 4th.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, seems, yeah. That moon has also just crossed the ascendant, the transit moon.
I noticed that. Yes. He's got Venus over the 12th. He's got the sun transiting. I'm kind of taking a quick synopsis of this.
You just had that Pluto.
I was going to say Pluto's getting ready to enter the 4th.
Yes, it's conjunct. Yeah, it's conjunct the IC, and he had just had that Pluto Sun conjunction.
That's what I was looking at. That
I had that myself. That sucks.
Yeah, Pluto and Sun. You know, it's empowering though. It can be, you know, but it can be a lot of things happening for you to find your power or to, you know, it looks different in a lot of different ways. But in this case, because we know what happened, or we're assuming he's died in this accident. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, we can kind of see how that played out for him, I guess. I guess I need to research more about kind of everything going on. You know, I don't know all his biography. I do wonder though if there were a lot of things in his life representing closure, not just with like dying, but like just other things like, I don't know, changing careers or changing, I don't know. I just get this element like some things were closing.
I don't know the answer to that. If anybody watching does,
put them in the
comments.
I admit I know a lot of stuff about celebrities through their deaths, not always alive, because you know I just have morbid curiosity. But it's an interesting transit for sure. The Pluto leaving the sun and entering that IC in 4th house.
Yeah.
And he's got Uranus going over the 6th at the time too. There's definitely some change ups. So yeah, he's got some things going on in his life. So, yeah, a lot of unpredictability because 6th house is like day-to-day life. Could even be in work.
Yeah, the work that you do, routines, health. Oh
And
shit.
Mars is coming into a conjunction. It's starting to apply to that Neptune
Mm-hmm.
in that third.
Yeah.
Mars, like, where you get some action, sometimes where you get courage, it's where you get assertiveness. Neptune can be, because it's visiting the same house as the third. He could have had trouble understanding his identity and his place in the world. It's not unusual with Neptune and the sun kind of being in the same house. And Mars is coming around, which it would every couple and a half years or so. But it makes me think he's at a time in his life when he's working on something. He's working on who he is, or he has all of a sudden this grasp of what that is. And yeah, this is kind of sad to me because I feel like doors closing, doors opening, and yet this is like his ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you see in this chart, Ellie, or this transit comparison?
Well, the main thing that really stood out to me, other than like the moon crossing over, is the Pluto thing, the just kind of slow burning. No.
Yeah. I want to keep staring at Venus too, going over the 12th. This is a pretty common transit yearly, but it's at the time meeting up with Pluto.
Yeah.
Something's going on with the way he interacts with people during this time. It may not be the most positive.
Yeah.
A speculation too, but yeah, it makes me wonder. This overall feeling kind of gives me the sense that this could be a more isolating time of year for him or point in his life.
Yeah, it could be.
Like wanting to kind of lay low.
Could
I mean, I
be.
know the sun's in the 11th, but everything else is kind of pulling inward to me.
I was trying to see if there were any
Now, where was this wedding supposed to be?
Oh shit.
I know, right? I don't know.
At one of their estates somewhere.
In the US?
Yes.
Not Canada or anything. Okay.
No, it was in the US. I can't remember where. One of the compounds or estates, the family. Yeah, I can't remember exactly where, but it wasn't out of the country.
Okay. I do like when, he's got, reason I ask, he had Saturn going over his 9th house. Anytime you have Saturn, it's always transiting somewhere in the chart. The house it's transiting is where we get delays with Saturn or challenges. So I imagine any out of the country travel or any, I would like to say what he's doing is probably more 3rd house travel, but some issues with traveling during this time for sure.
Yeah. And that's also like squaring the nodes at the time, like you mentioned, the transiting nodes. And because you brought up Neptune in his chart.
Mm-hmm.
That's also squaring the transiting nodes.
Mm-hmm. That is interesting.
Yeah. There's something about that's kind of what I've been staring at, I'm like, okay, what?
Yeah, if we're looking at the nodes like as a karmic or evolutionary astrology, which is what I like to do, with Neptune here, feels karmic. Not deserved. That doesn't mean the same thing.
Yeah, no, not absolutely. Yeah, not at all. Just something that was
some karmic elements here of some sort. Maybe not in death, but in maybe just them being together or something. I don't know, but there's something going on there.
Should we look at the solar arcs?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Because I did notice something with this. Now I'm going to put a disclaimer out there. I don't want this to be scary for anybody.
Big disclaimer, like flash.
Okay. If you have this going on in your own solar arcs, I am not at all saying that you're going to die. But I do think that it's interesting that, here, I'll just pull the
looking back in this specific case, that now these transits happen all the time to people and they don't die. They have other important things happen, maybe rebirth or
Okay, take a look at that fucking midheaven, solar arc midheaven.
Okay, are you able to,
Can you see it?
I see where it says midheaven, 9 degrees Gemini. Is there something on top of that? Because if there is, I don't see anything above that.
Oh yeah, I mean the solar
Oh.
arc one. See
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. I'm with you.
the midheaven?
The Mars retrograde.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
solar arc midheaven is at 1836. His Mars is at 1831. Mars is the ruler of his 8th house.
Ah, gotcha. Yep.
And I see that and I'm like, well, fuck, because a lot of times when the solar arc, and it does not mean death necessarily, right? I want to make that real fucking clear. But when you see the solar arc angles conjuncting natal planets, and when you see the solar arc planets conjunct natal angles, usually you'll see events happen, something happens. That doesn't necessarily mean death, but something happens.
Something significant in life, maybe a job change, maybe marriage, maybe divorce,
Yes.
maybe in this case is when he dies. Yeah. Or
Yes.
crash. Mhm.
Yeah. So that definitely also interesting. It's the ruler of his 3rd house too, with the local travel shit. So that's kind of, or more
Yeah.
localized travel. So that kind of, let me see, I'll make it smaller. So
That is interesting.
I remember that moon. Also, I think that moon, that solar arc moon in Chiron was just about to move into that 8th. Yeah.
I see that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just about to move into the 8th house, like within a couple of minutes.
Yeah. So we have a Mars retrograde ruling his 8th house. Now I understand why I don't say I understand the conspiracy, but I understand why there's questions. Did he really die? Because we got this retrograde planet ruling his death chart or his death house.
Yeah. 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 Like with the other forensic charts that we look at, and the retrograde can sometimes, not that this is a forensic chart, but the other ones we've looked at, where it'll be like something wasn't done right, or there are questions that oftentimes there is something fucking retrograde going on. Yes.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go ahead and stop sharing. So you think
I really like the solar arc chart. That's like fascinating. I love how sorry, that was crazy. That's kind of one of the crazier ones I've seen.
Yeah. Sometimes they are. Sometimes you'll see this kind of stuff really, by like transit. Sometimes you'll even see it with like secondary progressions, but sometimes you'll see it like really, really. Yeah, I like the solar arcs.
Yeah, that one, pretty interesting.
Yes. I wish I had the time. I would be curious to look at the time for Carolyn Bessette and her sister. But I couldn't find the times for them. I couldn't find. Yeah.
I know, it's a bummer. If anyone knows them, if anyone knows them, share.
So you think that I think this isn't. I don't think they're alive. I think they died.
I think they died. I think the really each chart we looked at had death markers. I'm trying to think of some examples. I want to say maybe Jimmy Hoffa. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but I know his forensics left the question of did he escape or was he really killed and just not found? This does not really leave any questions.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, to me it really, and like that Maura Murray one we did.
Yeah, we're like,
yeah, where it was like, I don't know.
Maybe can't rule it out at least, right?
Yeah.
This one, without, if I was just looking at it and didn't know any stories of conspiracies or anything else, I would be like, yeah, these people, they died. Yeah, they died. They crashed in the water. That's what it looks like.
And went missing for a few days. I think they found him it was like 3 or 4 days later.
Yeah, I remember watching the news when it happened at the time and kind of following it, and it took a little bit to find them. No, I don't see where they walked away from this, and I don't see any staging or anything like that either.
No, I really don't either. And and I know, and I mean, everybody can have their own opinion of this. I mean, I could see how maybe Neptune conjunct the ascendant might bring questions in, but I really think Neptune here is the water, and I think it's the aviation.
I do too. Water, death, aviation, water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it doesn't feel because like again, and like with the Mara Murray one, I think it was Neptune being, I can't remember where it was now, but it seemed kind of like Neptune was like more like a could have been like a staging or some shit.
Yeah.
With it. But this does not feel that way to me. It feels pretty cut and like that's, you know, it's the water, it's the aviation, it's all that.
It is. And I mean, their bodies were found. I don't think if something's like made up, I mean, usually when there's conspiracy, it's like maybe they weren't ever found, like Jimmy Hoffa. So
Yeah.
you know that these bodies were found, and
yeah,
with the astrology and all that, I think they're dead.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
There you have it.
Well, do you want to share where you can be found? And thank you for wanting to do this again with me.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Ellie. Like, I love these. I know I didn't have my shit together this week. I was wanting to do my plane crash. We'll do it next week. But I absolutely love these moments with you. Yeah, you can find me at brandyburrowastrology.com and Brandy Burrow Astrology on YouTube and Instagram. And Ellie, because eventually I'm going to rerun this on my channel. Where can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Let's F with Astrology. You can find me on Instagram at Saturn Season Astrology, and you can find me at my website, on my website at SaturnSeason.com.
Nice. Well, thank you. This was interesting, and I look forward to the next one.
Me too. Me too. And thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you later.